Hey everyone, it's Reed here. I'm getting into the swing of things and making a big push to get a lot of stuff done and out for you guys. I hope you like all the coming videos. I hope it's interesting. And since I'm operating from grid down at my house, I decided to do it outside. It's a nice, brisk 60 degrees out here in New Mexico. I like it. Funny thing is, in New Mexico, we usually get a nice, mild winter. Kinda. Anyways, I wanted to talk about today the blackout in Pakistan. Now, it's pretty interesting. I was looking at the article, reading through it and everything like that, and they said Pakistan suffered a nationwide blackout, or as I'm going to call it, grid down. And they suffered it because of a sudden drop in the frequency of the AC output. And if you're wondering what in the heck does that mean, and if you're curious where I read this, link in the description. Go check it out. Now, what does that mean? Well, the frequency coming out of your outlet. That's what we call it, AC power, alternating current. Means it alternates, goes back and forth, back and forth. Well, the frequency is the speed that it goes back and forth, back and forth. Okay? And here we operate at 60 hertz. Good number. I like the number 60. Well, in Pakistan, they suffered a sudden frequency drop, meaning that 60 dropped to, 40 or something like that. Well, what does that mean exactly? Well, if you're confused about that, what it means is they had more electrical demand than the grid could supply. Okay? See, it's kind of funny, is when there is more demand, like more people running air conditioners than there's electrical power to run all of them, the frequency of the grid drops. And if it drops too much, everything shuts off and it cascades and falls apart. The reason is the frequency starts shifting is that the generators are saturated. Okay? Their coils, their ability, their magnets, and all that are fully saturated, and you're getting magnetic field collapse. And yes, that is the simple way to put it. We don't have to go into the giant physics equation and everything else governing that. I think maybe I'll do that on a Geek Tuesday video, which I'm aiming to get started on very soon. But that's what it means. They were using so much power for the entire nation, the generators were fully saturated, and it all came apart. And when that happens, you end up with a cascading failure. Now, a country like Pakistan that doesn't have as much wealth and all that, they don't have nearly as many standby generators constantly running. In America, we have a lot of standby generators. Generally, they're natural gas. These are generators just sitting there idle, spun up and ready. So if there is a giant peak in demand, they spin up quickly and meet that demand to keep the grid from going kind of get the point, right? Yeah. Now, there is an alternate direction. You can have a frequency rise. Now, here in America, we're actually seeing that. In a lot of other developed nations, we're seeing frequency rise. What does that mean? Well, if it starts, the alternating current that goes back and forth, begins to rise from 60 hertz to, say, 61. Well, it means there's actually more electricity than the grid is consuming, and the frequency starts going up. And is that bad? Yes, it's very bad. In fact, if it rises too much, a little bit beyond 61 hertz, everything shuts down for safety's sake. And if you're wondering why, well, there's a lot of motors and stuff like that greatly depend upon the frequencies. Things get a little too far out of sync, well, things go bad. Things like that. Yeah, but that's how it is. We're designed around 60 hertz. We got to stay in 60 hertz. That's how it is. Now, how could there be more electricity than we're consuming? Well, believe it or not, it's all the impact from a large amount of wind turbines and all the rooftop solar and those giant solar installations. Yeah, they're putting out a lot of energy and a lot of the residential stuff. And one of the big problems we've had is that they don't really understand how much power is being used. The main utilities and everything else of the utility companies they have installed on it, they have a lot of instrumentation and everything else connected on there so that when they communicate with everything else, they understand the demand the grid needs. The grid has no ability to store electrical power. Yes, there's an asterisk and a yeah, but associated with that, and things like that are changing. But that'll be another Geek Tuesday. But back to the point here, all the utilities and all that have a lot of instrumentation. The residential stuff and a lot of those things out there does not. The other thing is a lot of those wind turbines and stuff, they have to put out power. They cannot freewheel. If wind turbines freewheel, bad things happen, like in this clip. Yeah, bad things like that. Meaning the magnetic coils and all that provide the resistance to make it prevent from going, off the rails. It's important. So wind turbines have to output power. fact, in Germany, they've run into this problem significantly where they've had to pay other countries to take their electricity. Solar systems, when they started getting put on in residential and everything else like that, they were considered a drop in the bucket. Once we started getting, megawatts of residential solar power installed, that drop of a bucket was more like a million little raindrops filling the ocean. With all the residential solar and all that stuff, there's a big push to fix that, to make these systems much more smart and aware. And we have UL 1741. Now, if you're wondering what UL 1741 means, basically don't worry about it. Okay? What basically it means, we have a smart grid. So the stuff that's installed in the residential systems watches the frequency and they tailor their output to match the demand. So a lot of the inverters and all that stuff are watching carefully what's coming in from the grid. They start seeing it rise, they shut down. About 61 hertz, they're off. They completely shut down because the grid is saturated. It's a good design, good philosophy and all that, so we don't introduce a lot of grid instabilities because that's what this is pushing. A lot of the renewables and all this stuff have introduced a fair amount of instability, and they're making steps to correct this. Vital, important piece here in a lot of the transformations going on our electric grid. We don't need to introduce a lot of instability and have our own giant grid down event. However, I've got grid down. What the heck? Don't worry. My Out of Time series will be coming soon. Small plug. Look forward, previews, all that stuff coming. But anyways, that explains what the heck happened in Pakistan. I hope this was slightly interesting to you, and I hope it answered some of your questions. And if you want more information on this, leave me a comment, and I'll figure it out and give you an answer, hopefully. Take care, everyone. This is Reed, out for now.